We were staying with our grandparents in a small rural village in southern Norway during spring break. It's the kind of place with more sheep than people. Endless hills and thick woods surrounding everything. One afternoon, Leo mentioned a trail behind the farm, said it led deep into the forest, and that locals told stories of some old war, time structure hidden way back. A bunker or a cabin, depending who you ask. I'd heard the whispers too, but I figured it was just one of those exaggerated campfire legends. We were bored. No internet, barely a cell signal, and the sky was just gray enough to feel heavy. So we packed snacks, flashlights, and a thermal camera Leo had brought. He's into photography, and headed out around 4 p.m. The trail started off normal. Muddy, quiet, a little cold. The usual. But after about 15 minutes, something started to feel off. I got this weird prickling sensation on the back of my neck. Not fear, just a strange sense of familiarity. Like, I knew this path. The only thing is, I'd never been here in my life. I turned to Leo and said, "There's a wooden bridge coming up. Kind of broken, covered in moss. Just watch." He laughed. But 2 minutes later, there it was. I thought maybe it was luck. But then I started saying other things. Things I had no reason to know. There's a rusted mailbox nailed to a tree. We passed it. There's a fork in the path ahead. Go right. And sure enough, we got there. And it was exactly where I said it would be. Leo finally stopped and stared at me. "Are you messing with me?" he asked. I wish I was. But I couldn't stop. I knew what was coming next. A clearing. A cabin. Brown roof. Metal chimney. The left side of the porch caved in. I described it all, in detail. And when we reached it, it was real. Exactly as I'd seen in my head. We should have left. But of course we didn't. Leo said, "If this is real, then what's inside?" And I replied, without thinking, like the words came from somewhere else. "There's a room in the back with creepy walls." I nodded, not even understanding how I knew that. We stepped onto the creaky porch and pushed open the door. Inside was old. Dust. Broken furniture, water damage on the ceiling. We were calling out. No answer. We walked through carefully, checking each room, just like I described. Kitchen, bedroom, storage closet, all there. Then we got to the room at the back. Leo looked at me. "So, what's in there?" And I hesitated. I don't know why, but my chest tightened and something cold moved down my spine. I didn't want to answer. I didn't even want to be near that door. Leo glanced at me, confused. "You all right?" I took a step back. "I don't think we should open it." "Well, I don't know. Just don't you feel that? Like something's wrong with this place." He didn't get it at first. But then Leo reached for the doorknob and froze. He leaned closer to the wood. The light was dim, but we could both see it now. Faint smears across the edges of the frame. Dark red. We stepped back. My voice was barely above a whisper. "Those are blood stains, and not just on the door." When Leo shined his flashlight up the walls, we saw it. Inside, through the crack of the door, the walls were covered. Long, wide streaks. Like someone had been dragged. Smears high up, smudges low down. It didn't look random. It looked like something violent had happened there.
"Oh my God, like a torture room."
That's exactly what it felt like. I could barely breathe. Leo stepped back. "Maybe it's paint," he said. But even he didn't believe it. The smell, that iron, heavy smell, it wasn't paint. I whispered, "We should go?" But then, something moved inside. A faint thud. We both jumped back. Leo cursed under his breath. The sound had come from the floor. He looked at me. "Something's in there." "I don't want to know what." We didn't speak after that. We just turned around and bolted. And I swear I heard one more sound from inside. We didn't look back again until we were halfway back to the village. We never told our grandparents. Never told anyone except 2 close friends who didn't believe us. We didn't go back, but Leo developed the thermal photos. And in one, the shot of the cabin's back door. There's a faint human silhouette standing inside the room. We hadn't seen anyone there. I can't explain it. It wasn't just strange, it was like I'd been there before. I swear the moment I stepped into Ethan's house, my brain lit up like it recognized the place. I'd just flown in for a new job. Fresh start, new chapter, all that. Ethan, my college buddy, had been living here for a few years. We hadn't seen each other in 3, but when he met me at the airport, grinning, tossing my bag into the trunk like we were still 20, "Till you find a place near your office," he said. "You're staying with me. I've got space." I didn't argue. His place was small but neat. Not an apartment, nothing fancy. But the second we stepped inside, I froze. I felt like I'd lived that exact second before. The smell. Wood varnish and something faintly metallic. Ethan lived alone, but he'd done a decent job decorating. Ignore the mess. He laughed, tossing a few shirts off the couch. We sat down in the living room while he reheated some pasta. 5 minutes. That's all it took for the second wave to hit. The exact painting above the mantel, the layout. I didn't say anything. Brushed it off. Maybe Ethan had sent me pics before, and I forgot. But the vibe kept getting weirder. I couldn't stop looking toward the hallway that led to the stairs. And without really thinking, I asked, "Hey, is someone upstairs?" He looked up from the microwave. "No." "Why?" "I don't know. Just felt like someone was up there." Ethan gave a short laugh. "You didn't hear anything, right?" Right then I heard a soft creak from upstairs. "No, I live alone, remember." Ethan handed me a fork. "Old house. It creaks. You'll get used to it." I pushed the plate away and said quietly, "Man, I know it sounds stupid. You really think there's someone up there?" I nodded. "I don't know. Maybe not. Can we just check?" He didn't laugh this time. Just gave a slow nod. He opened the drawer near the kitchen and pulled out a knife. I stayed back as he climbed halfway up, calling out, "Who's up there?" No answer. Every step felt familiar. I knew which door was going to be open. I knew what we'd see. The guest bedroom door was open. The window inside was also open. Screen pushed out from the bottom. And on the floor, a muddy footprint. Ethan froze. I stood just behind him, staring at that single footprint. Not 2, just 1. It was facing inward. He stepped in carefully, knife still raised, checking behind the door, under the bed. I moved toward the window. That's what scared me the most. This wasn't just familiarity. It was like my body knew what was about to happen. Ethan turned toward the closet, and before either of us could react, it flew open. A man lunged out, a kitchen knife in his hand. He swung blindly, catching Ethan's shoulder. Ethan went down hard, yelling in pain. I didn't think. I slammed the door shut, trapping the guy inside. He kicked it hard from the other side, but I grabbed the key off the hook and locked it from the outside. Ethan was groaning on the floor, blood staining his shirt. "Call the cops," he said. My hands shook as I dialed while keeping the door closed. The guy inside the room was still kicking the door. It sounded like a trapped animal, but he wasn't getting out. 10 minutes later, we had sirens. Officers stormed in, weapons drawn, pulled the guy out of the room. He didn't say much. Just kept muttering something about thinking the house was empty. He had tools in a backpack. Zip ties. A small bottle of something flammable. Ethan's shoulder needed 5 stitches. He was lucky. But if I hadn't noticed how familiar it all felt, we might have gone to bed, left the guest room open. And who knows what could have happened while we slept. It started with a call the second I picked up. She said birthday, boat and Saturday. You better show up. That was it. No explanation, no small talk. I wanted to say no. Something about deep water always made my skin crawl. Still, there was something in her voice, that kind of playful demand you can't argue with. So, I told her I'd come. We got to the dock around noon. Blue skies, cool breeze. The boat was bigger than I expected. 2 decks and railings all around. It looked safe. Too safe. Everyone looked excited. As I stepped on, something shifted. Like my ears rang for a second. And I froze. The deck felt familiar. Not like, I've seen this in a dream. No, more like I remembered being here. The exact wood paneling. About 20 minutes into the ride, everyone was laughing, taking selfies, eating cake. And I was standing near the back, listening to my cousin Daniel talk about some Netflix show. That's when I saw it. A silver lighter. Nothing special. Just a plain, scratched up lighter sitting on the edge of a wooden bench. And I swear to God, before I even looked properly, I knew it would be there.
You saw it before seeing it.
That's what it felt like. Like I'd already been on this exact boat, seen that exact bench, with that exact lighter resting there. I don't know why that tiny object freaked me out so much, but the feeling didn't go away, like something bad was about to happen. A few minutes later, the engine sputtered, just for a second. Like a hiccup. Everyone looked at the captain. He waved it off. "It does that sometimes," he said, tapping a panel. No big deal. But my heart was already pounding. I turned to Daniel. "I know this sounds stupid, but I'm getting a bad feeling. Can you just call for help? Just in case." He laughed. "Dude, we're not even that far out. You're being paranoid." Maybe he was right. I wish I'd been wrong. A few minutes later, I stood up to stretch. That's when I saw the girl. Zara, I think her name was, walking toward the front railing, trying to take a selfie. And right then, another flash hit me. That railing. It was gonna break. I didn't think. I just moved.
Zara! Don't lean on that!
I shouted. She turned confused. But it was too late. The metal groaned. The railing snapped, and she slipped forward with a scream. It all happened so fast. She managed to grab the edge. Barely. People rushed to her. I grabbed a life jacket and threw it down. Just as Daniel and another guy pulled her back up, she was soaked and shaking. Her arm was bleeding badly, but she was fine. Thank God. That's when I said it to Daniel. "This isn't random. Something's wrong with this boat. Call someone."
I bet he listened this time.
He did. Daniel used the satellite phone to call for help. Said it was just a precaution. 15 minutes later, just as the rescue boat arrived, they noticed it. A thin crack running across the base of the boat. Right where I'd been standing earlier. Water was slowly pushing through. The captain looked nervous now. We started moving people to the rescue boat in small groups. Only a few people were still on board when we heard it again. A loud crack under the floorboards. We froze. Then the boat tilted slightly. Water rushed in from the rear. "Move! Move now!" the rescue guy shouted. We jumped across, barely making it before the boat began to sink. Slow, steady. Within minutes, it was halfway under. Everyone stood silent, just like that. But you know what keeps me up? I'd never been on that boat, never seen that lighter, never met most of those people. So how did I know?